Hi guys, this is the narration of chapter 4 called The Slapping of Surinder Baswana from my book I Also Slept with Rashmi Verma. The greatest time on any campus is festival time. Like all schools and colleges, we also had our own festival and it was called Market. Yes, it was a national festival where we called other colleges on campus and conducted competitive games. The winner would get a trophy. This week long orgy was always a big hit and a time for everyone on campus to show their skills. Most games were intellectual games like quizzes and creative competitions. The other games tested one's physical endurance. There were also competitive games like singing and dancing. Drama and theatre was also encouraged. Brijesh Shekhar and Harsh Sablok organizes the quizzes and the intellectual games. I was in charge of the games related to marketing. Rashmi Verma organized the poetry competition and quizzes. Everyone was busy with something or the other, and they all had tasks to do and perform. Pandey ji was in charge of the mess and always looked tense. He wanted to make sure that the food was perfectly served to everybody. So what if he stole from the mess fund and used the money to buy a new motorcycle for himself? He was no thief. After all, he was working hard for the mess and the quality of the food had improved. But everyone knew Pandiji stole from the mess fund. That is where he got the money to supply parathas, samosas and sandwiches to Rashmi Verma and her roommate Rachna Sant. Amongst all the hullabaloo and activity, there was one guy who stood apart and aloof from all this. It was as if he felt that he was not a part of this. He felt like a misfit, a bit out of place, even a bit reluctant. He sat quietly in the field, sipping a bottle of beer and wore a jeans with an open shirt. Yes, sir, this fair, well-built Adonis with a handsome jawline was Surinder Baswana. He stood apart because he felt there was no competition in the festival where he could contribute, let alone win. He couldn't speak a word of English correctly, let alone long sentences. He said he had a degree in law, but I did not believe him. I'm sure that he hardly went to law college. Even if he did, it was just to drink beer with his mates. His father, a prominent lawyer, wanted him to study hard and make something out of himself. I'm sure that he was enrolled into law just to please his dad, but he hardly picked up a book of law. Even on campus, he always seemed to feel out of place. It is safe to say that he did not enjoy studying much. Yes, sir, if there was something Surinder Baswana enjoyed, it was the taste of chilled beer, and if there was a dream that he had, it was to become a successful actor. He was in the wrong place to fulfill and do justice to both these passions. He either should have tried to become a bartender in a successful beer bar or should have enrolled himself at Prithvi Theatres to learn acting skills. He did neither. Like me, he was also a backdoor entry. Man, there was no way Surinder Baswana could clear any exam. He could hardly read a book, let alone pass an exam. But yes, he could drink a tank of beer and still stand on his 2 feet like a true Jat macho man. So when I and Sonal Mathur won the advertising and marketing games, and Harsh Sablok and Peanut John won the strategy game, Surinder Baswana stood afar wondering what game he could play. I mean, he had dreams of becoming an actor, but he was still a shy boy and not an extrovert like me. He didn't even read a single book on campus yet. He stood afar from all this, wondering what game he could play. The fairy godmother must be pleased with him. Because that day, in the sunny afternoon, amongst all the commotion of the campus festival, a new and unique game was announced. Yes, it was the first time the beer drinking competition had taken place during the festival. All the muscle men of the campus wanted to be a part of this. However, it was Surinder who just walked away with the grand prize. Yes, I am witness to the fact that I have not seen anyone finish a bottle of Kingfisher faster than he finished it in my life. He took exactly 7 seconds to finish the bottle of beer and was declared the grand winner. Amongst all the intellectual competitions and knowledge-based games in which Surinder felt that he was not a part of, he had found his true niche. Yes, sir. This man would finish a bottle of beer before one could bat an eyelid. He had beaten Dhillon, the Lion of Punjab, who finished it in 30 seconds. Baswana was all ears and pleased amongst all the intellectuals. He now stood as the tallest. He could now show the world that he was also good at something. Winning the beer drinking competition was like showing two fingers to all the marketing mons. Once, while we were playing the game, I also slept with Rashmi Verma. Surinder had openly confessed that he had also slept with Rashmi Verma. I, however, could not figure out whether he had slept with her before or after Raizada and Peanut John, and there was no way for me to solve this conundrum. The only one who could shed light on this truth was Rashmi Verma herself, and she had never confessed to me that she had slept with Surinder Baswana. So I was a bit puzzled when Surinder Baswana made that revelation that he had also slept with Rashmi Verma. Well, I like Surinder. He was easygoing and had always had enough money in his pocket as well as Nestle Milky Bar chocolates in his room. I would raid his closet every night after I had binged on charas and ganja. You feel hungry and yearn for something sweet after you've smoked a chillum, and I started smoking chillum quite regularly in those days. The man who introduced me to the magical world of soakable herbs was none other than Rakesh Dhar. Yes, our senior Rakesh Dhar, Lord Shiva himself. Whenever I felt like talking the herb, I would walk to his room. Rakesh Dhar was generous to me and would share his smokes with me. He was the guy who was instrumental in igniting the passion of marketing in me. I read all his marketing and advertising books and sucked his knowledge on the subject, all the while smoking his pot.